Welcome to the 100th episode of Sunday SoulDay, weekly fuel for your mind, body, and soul. And what a better way to celebrate than with the true powerhouse, Theresa Byrne. Teresa isn't just the Mindset Coach of the Year 2 years running, she's a living embodiment of resilience, discipline, and inner strength. As the first woman to earn the rank of Master Instructor in her martial arts system, holding an incredible 8 black belts, Teresa has made history. But it's Teresa's healing journey that makes her story unforgettable. After surviving a traumatic brain injury, she turned her pain into purpose, uncovering powerful insights into the brain's ability to heal and adapt. Her message has touched hearts worldwide, including her TED Talk, The Dangers of Your Inner Bully, which has hit over 700,000 views and was named one of Thrive's global top 10 most meaningful talks. Teresa joins us today to share her incredible journey, her wisdom on mindset, and how to master our inner bully. Let's welcome her to the show. Welcome to Sunday SoulDay, Teresa.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I am kind of obsessed with your podcasts lately. And I rarely watch something or listen to something, and I'm just nodding in the background. Everything you're talking about, I'm just like, yep, yes, yes to that. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Oh, no, thank you. And likewise, I'm so excited to talk to you. Like, I'm still amazed at the amount of people that saw my light in the post and responded. I honestly thought I'd get maybe like 10 people to respond to that particular post. And I think like we're up to like 140 folks who were interested in the show. And it was within like a 24 to 48-hour window that people responded. So I'm just so grateful that you saw it, that the algorithm, the universe, God worked in our favor. So I'm excited
I
to
always
talk
think
to you.
there's these little CPA angels, beings, or whatever, like organizing things and synchronicities up there and like you know what? Turn it on now because she's gonna 3, 2, 1. Yes, I think that's happening.
Oh my goodness, that is so. I'm like either that or Destiny Helpers. We have our little Destiny Helpers in the
Oh, I
background
love
doing
that
that.
version
Yeah,
too. Okay, what if there's both?
thanks combination. But I'm so excited. Like you have such an incredible background. Like your path is so multifaceted. Martial arts master, like crisis counselor, mindset coach, speaker, you're doing so much. Like, can you take us back to the beginning a bit? Like, what were some of your earlier experiences that kind of shaped your interest in personal power and transformation?
Oh, okay. So when I was 7, I'm kidding. I'm totally not going there. But when I was a kid, I had this realization that I wanted to help people find their potential. I didn't know how that was going to look. I didn't know what that was going to be, but I had this big epiphany at one point where I was so stuck in my head about, did I say the right thing? Was I presenting correctly? Were the other kids getting what I was trying to say? And I realized I'm walking around with all this stuff. I bet other kids are too. Boom. And I realized how often are we not even hearing ourselves, each other, because we're all stuck in our heads. So I realized I wanted to help people access their potential. I had no idea how that was going to look. Studied psychology and social work in college, ran a crisis hotline. Bless every single therapist out there. Amazing human beings. It was just not something that was going to be the path for me. So I went down instead and started studying communication and learning how we communicate, how I can communicate, how I can help other people communicate and share what they came to share, really. It's all about that. It's all about the light. It's all about what people have inside them that wants to come out. And that's always been my thing. That's what I've always wanted for people.
Oh my God, I love that. I love the communication component and then also just all the communication that happens in our mind, Like and I'm like, we have like what is it, over 50,000, 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of them
If
are
you have
negative.
ADHD, do you have
Yeah,
any idea
oh
how
gosh,
much
and
that is,
double
right?
that probably. Yeah, it's like it, and they're mostly negative. And so it's like we're constantly talking ourselves out of things, So I'm like, I remember when I was younger, like living very much in my head and
Mm.
also in my body, like where everything was kind of like in. And I used to journal, and that's what kind of helped me like live a little bit more lighter. But I imagine like, people who didn't grow up with that practice or some type of practice, or even the tools to release some of that, like, how that can manifest and fester over time.
Well, this isn't a question you asked, but you hit on. So Simon Sinek does a talk about your why. I believe it's about your why not. And here's what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, that's good.
Why am I doing the work I'm doing? Because I never want someone else to feel like they're powerless, like they don't know what to do, how to do it, and they have nowhere to turn. And I had felt like that as a kid. I grew up in a very challenging household. Father is very negative and angry to this day. And I took it on like, okay, what do I need to change or shift to make this a better situation? And I couldn't, but I never want someone. And I knew I was disempowered. I knew this wasn't good. This wasn't right. This wasn't for me, but it was my situation and there was nowhere to turn. We weren't therapy people. So my why not is I never want anyone to have to experience that ever, where they don't know where to go, who to ask for help. And that to me is bigger. The why seems like a head thing. Like I do this because, but why not? It's like I don't want anyone to have to go through
Yeah.
this.
I love that term. I might have to steal that. The why not,
The why not?
it's so good, but it's so true. It's like it really, to me, it feels even more grounding, than just starting
Mhm.
with the why, which I think that's why I love his book, because it is great to start with the why, but then getting to the why not is even deeper,
That's
Ooh,
the heart.
yeah.
That's the real
That
why we
sounds
do
like a
what we
book, Teresa. I don't know. I think you need to,
taking a note, taking a note.
I think you need to write this. I love this.
I'm in. I'm in.
Well, you talked about running a crisis hotline,
Mm.
I think for about 6 years, right?
Yeah,
You
all through
ran the, oh
college,
my
yes.
gosh. Wow. Like, how did that experience influence your approach to helping others and kind of shape your foundation for the work you're doing today?
I realized that people spin. And you know this because of the work you
Yes.
do. But when they're in crisis, it's like all they can hear is the spin, is the anxiousness, is the upset, is the and my job at the time was to either help them or to coach the volunteers how to help them calm in that moment. And nervous system wasn't really a conversation that we were having yet. But now we know you start to spin, and then your nervous system gets all jacked up, and then you spin further, and then the anxiety builds on itself. And so for me, it was about teaching people how to, okay, take a breath, and let's look at some of this. Let's yes, there is the emotion, but we don't have to work solely on the emotion. And crisis hotline, if you had someone who was suicidal, when you got off the phone, you did not know whether they completed suicide or not. And that was a very interesting, right. So the other piece of how that has informed my work, and I'm gonna out myself here in a not healthy way, is I became the 911 coach. So you got issues, you got boundary problems, you've got like I don't know what to do with. I would be the one everybody would call, but I was good in an emergency, and I decided I didn't want to be that all the time anymore. I didn't want to be the 911. But because I'd made a commitment from college on that I would be there. If somebody needs help, they need support, I would show up. I would be there for them. But that's the kind of client I started to get was a lot of the 911. And I realized, okay, I made an agreement. Thanks. Universe heard me that I would be there for people. Now what? Like, now what can I do with it? So I started shifting it to teaching more about the mindset and calming our nervous systems. Do I still get 911 calls? Absolutely. People are like, I need to set a boundary. I need your words. Help me with the words because I don't know how to say this thing. And I'm good at it, but it's not what I want to do all the time.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like, energetically. I always wonder about that with, like, 911 even calls, right? And like hotline calls. Like, energetically, what does that do to you? Like, over time, over years, you did it for 6 years. Like, what did that do to you? Like, how did you release that, like
Oh,
every day?
I'm going to out myself. So it was run through the social work department at my college. And I was the first one that said, we need to start drawing boundaries because we have these callers that are calling 2 or 3 times a week. And then when they're not calling our hotline, they're calling the city hotline. We're not serving them. And the department's like, boundaries? What do you mean? I'm like, we are enabling a behavior that is just continuing. These
Mhm.
people become kind of chronically stuck in what they're dealing with. We've got to say, hey, is this blank? Because they'd use a different name, right? But the story would be similar. we had to start drawing boundaries. And that for me, in social work, like boundaries is like a half of a piece of a week that we study. And it's literally like the no. What do you say no to? What's your no in your life? And I was always like, no, 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 no. What about the yes? Like, especially in martial arts. I can go on about that for hours, but boundaries, man, I learned boundaries and how important they were.
That's amazing though, because I mean, even for me, like it took me a while to understand how important boundaries were and how to even not just set them, but then enforce them, you know?
Hmm.
And so that's amazing that you learned that even early on. I mean, this is like during your college years, you know? So,
Kind of learned it as a kid in my family.
um,
So, and now I did not have boundaries with friends or in relationships as
yep.
clearly as I did with family. But survival.
I I understand. No, I mean, but it's still pretty remarkable, you know,
Thank
just
you.
to because to me, when you have boundaries, like you're taking your power back, you know, and so like and not that you were giving all your power away, but you know, I can imagine in those situations where you're getting those kind of calls, you know, coming in, how you know it can just deplete you.
Hmm. Hmm. Compassion fatigue is real. Um,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can overcare, and that's why boundaries for others, but also boundaries for self,
Yeah.
really important. And you know that now.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I'm I hold firm now, but you know, but back, you know, when I was younger, it was a lot more difficult for me in certain situations, you know, especially when heartstrings were involved.
Oh,
So
and we didn't have role models. We
yeah,
didn't
no,
see,
fact.
we didn't have the content that we have now. We didn't
No,
know how.
no, it's so true.
Mm.
Gosh, well, you mentioned martial arts, which I'm so excited to talk to you about. You know, I was telling you earlier, my sister is a second degree black belt. And, you know, we grew up around martial arts, but I didn't, you know, I was more interested in watching
Mm.
because it felt like such an art to me, you know, an art form, like similar to boxing, which I'm obsessed with. Like I love boxing, you know. I mean, minus the fact that it's pretty, you know, brutal and gory, but it's like, but it's so amazing. Just the whole process that goes into training for it, you know, training for a fight. And same with martial arts, like all the different things that you have to learn, you know, and that discipline. It's like you can't even describe it to someone, you know, it's like unless they do it, like then they'll understand. But you know, your journey from martial arts to mindset mastery is like pretty incredible. Like how has discipline, structure, and that resilience, you know, kind of helped you develop yourself personally and then also like your empower framework?
When I founded a martial arts studio in Colorado, and it's a multidisciplinary studio. So people say, what art? Taekwondo, Krav Maga, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, which is also, and some boxing. I love boxing too. Uh, and a lot of the students would be differently brained, is what I call them. And now we call them neurodivergent, adults and kids. And but I would celebrate their different brains. There were autistics, type A's, OCD, ADHD, any number, and both adults and children. And at the time, the way that you were supposed to, I'm going to use air quotes, um, teach martial arts was, demand, you must do this. This is, and it was fear based. And I know from my environment and everything I learned in college that no, you don't build people up that way. So I started leading through love, which was encouragement and building from the basics, basics, basics. You get this, you can't do a front kick, which is, you pick up your leg and you kick. Great. Let's just practice picking up that knee. Great. You got that knee. Awesome. All right. Now let's just extend it a little bit. Okay, good. Creating building blocks. And that's the structure. And even with clients, you don't start with, all right, I want you to set boundaries with your family. I want you to set boundaries at work. No, people would be like, and I'm done. Or they go into the fetal position. Um, but the difference is being able to go, okay, I can start with this one step, one step. Funny story. So I studied neuroscience as well because I wanted to understand how human development and brains worked and training worked. And I was creating this process called Leading Through Love. And it was almost a social experiment. And I told some of the other schools, I'm like, all right, your kids are the athletic. They are just like top of the food chain. They're already athletes in four sports. My kids, built for math, not exactly, the quickest, most coordinated group. But let's see at black belt testing if you can tell the difference. And you could not.
No way.
These kids rose to the level of what was possible. And many of them stayed stuck with Mark, but they unleashed that light within them. I wasn't trying to train little master T's. I didn't need them to obey me. I mean, there are certain parts of the discipline, like this is how we do this thing. And then there's room for like, and you might do it this way, and that's okay. But there's some freedom in the discipline, and that's what people miss. When you've got the discipline, then you can play around in it. But it's like you know what to expect.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, you said so much there. Like, I love that you talked about the multi-brain because, like, there's, and I think that is such a miss with a lot of coaches, and they're trying to like kind of train people or teach people collectively, and
Oh,
not everyone is, operates and understands and takes in information in the same way. And so I love that you started with that, like that's such a what a gift to your students, and the thing that I love about, martial arts, taekwondo, all those things that you mentioned, right? It's like you're starting from like everybody starts at ground zero, like white belt, like no one comes in knowing, more than others. Like it's such a beautiful process. And I love to use the term building blocks. I'm going to steal that too, like, because that's really what it is. It's like you're building, or for me, I call it bricklaying. It's like you're just like laying bricks, like one by one, to get better. So I love, oh my gosh, I love that you talked about that.
yeah. I call it like building on success. So you start with the
Yes. Ooh, that's
success
good.
and then you build on that and then you build on that. And like if
Yeah.
I wanted to go do a 10K, I'm not going to do it right out,
Yeah.
but I might go for a walk.
Yep.
Yay, nailed that. I get
Yeah.
to feel good and my brain gets a dopamine hit. And all of our brains are wired slightly differently. And I'm hoping that the coaching industry is looking more at wiring and how people function. And even when I work with clients, I'll ask them, how do you take in information best? How do you take in feedback best? What are the ways? Because there are different ways we all do this. And I tend to have a lot of energy, and you are just, oh, you're so calming to me. This is like yin and yang right here. This is good. I'm gonna bring you up, and you're gonna like me down.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's what I have a friend who's like really high energy, and she's like, oh, I just love being in your energy, she's like you balance me out, but I'm also in certain ways, like certain things I get high energy. Like I have a lot of energy, but my energy is more calm, like my natural state is very calming, so
Which is beautiful because that's your light. That is who you
yeah,
are. My energy is high.
yeah,
And then when I'm
love
when
it.
I'm quiet, I'm quiet. I'm reading or I'm doing internal things. But
So
that's a
cool.
beautiful thing about owning. That to me is alignment of mind, body, and
Yes,
spirit in my work, soul in your work. Mind,
yeah.
body, and soul or spirit, when you're aligned,
Yeah.
your energy has that place to go.
No, absolutely. And it attracts, so beautifully too when you're aligned. Well, you
Mm,
mentioned something that I talk about often on the show is living in, fear and living in love.
mm.
And, you talked about the difference of like coaching less fear-based, which I think, in a lot of those kind of physical environments, like there is a lot of fear, because and it's not to say that that's wrong. It's not an opportunity to shame anyone, right? It's like sometimes the fear, you can use that fear in such a beautiful way. But I think when you're teaching such an art form, it's so important to remember the love. So I love that you even like, where did that come from?
Knew it was wrong that to
Uh,
yell at children or adults who to yell or shame people. And you see that same thing in almost like boot camps or
yeah, that's
militaristic
what I'm
training.
saying. Yeah, it's like you see it.
And not to denigrate any sport, but sometimes you got these sports coaches that are like dropping you to one, blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
man up or woman up or whatever the case is. But the difference is, is that the best for that student or that sport? Now, here's the caveat. Military is created in such a way that people will follow a hierarchy. They will not think for themselves. Because lives depend on them being able to follow directions, mission imperative.
Mhm.
That is how the military is based. And martial is about military. but there's an art to it. We don't have to break people down to build them up in our image or build them up how we want them to look or do things.
Oh my gosh, that is perfectly said. Oh, yes, exactly. I love that you knew how important that was. Like, and I've seen so many coaches, like it's why I kind of held off like putting my kids in organized sports until they're a little bit older, because I've seen so many coaches that are like in the kid's face, and it's so fear-based. And it's almost, to me, it takes the joy out of learning and
Yeah.
also creating room for error,
Which is
and
how we
celebrating those
learn.
errors. Exactly. So,
So what are you supposed to have automatons?
exactly, exactly.
And that's when I see kids afraid to make a mistake or,
Yes, exactly.
fearful.
Which
And I
cuts
guess
their learning down.
yes, and diminishes their light because they're afraid to be themselves because it's wrong. And yeah, I have so many. I mean, I could go off for
Yeah,
hours on
no,
that part of it.
exactly. We can do a whole episode on that, which we
Oh, I
might.
know,
But
right?
I want to switch gears a little bit because you experienced something very traumatic. And, we talked about this earlier, but I'm like, there's so many common denominators that, the human experiences, on their journey. And, one of those things is, grief, trauma, transitions, and so many other things. Like, you experienced a traumatic brain injury that became a major turning point in your life. Can you take us back to that moment and like what was the pain and like how did you ultimately like overcome that and start leading into your purpose?
Oh, pain to purpose. I love that that's your theme. So I was run into, and it was three different impacts, which when you get a brain injury, your head hits one thing and then sloshes to the other side. So I had the equivalent of six concussions at one time. By the time, yeah, I didn't even know I
Oh
had
my.
one. So I was run into a brick wall. So please don't ever say to the universe, I guess I'm gonna have to run into a brick wall because don't. Just don't. Um, the brain injury was something that I'm so grateful for now.
Mm,
I am, I didn't see it coming.
mhm.
And I had a near death experience before I hit the wall. So I don't even remember hitting the brick wall in my car. And just, I mean, I'm super grateful about that. And then in the near death experience, I got shown how silly I am as a human being. And, I'm always trying to work and make a difference, but I never stopped to enjoy the difference that I'd made. It's like whoever's running the show up there is like, okay, you need to learn this, you need to learn that. And I did not walk away realizing I had a traumatic brain injury until the headache started, until I couldn't figure out the word. Everything was toaster. Like I would just say toaster because I couldn't remember the word for anything. And I'm a viable human being. I'm intelligent. And I just, hot mess, would cry at the drop of a hat, get angry at the drop of a hat, felt sick. And by the time I went to see the doctors, I had post concussive syndrome, and they asked me they said, you have to, your brain is incredibly swollen and inflamed. You need to stop everything. And I'm thinking, I run a business. I have 15 employees. Who's going to pay the rent on my 6,000 square foot studio while I'm out sipping water? Because alcohol wouldn't have been a good idea for brain injury.
No, probably not.
And so I said, how long are you thinking? And she said a week. And at first, and I was like, a week? How do I take a week off? I don't even. And then I went back, and Damesha, it was 3 weeks. Then it was a month. Then it was 3 months. My brain was not healing. It was like learning from the inside out. Well, and I had to learn how to walk again. I shuffled. Um, but I think the weirdest part is I always knew I was going to be okay. There was some faith in me beyond measure, beyond what doctors were saying. I tested at 30% of my intelligence. So they make you take neurocognitive testing.
My,
And
oh,
then I had ADHD. I took the ADHD test and she's like, you got a 99. And I'm like, awesome. I'm a really good test taker. She's like, no, 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 no. You have 1% attention. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you say? Wait, what? It explains so much. So I was diagnosed with ADHD, panic, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and then neuroendocrine disorder. My body plopped on 35 pounds in 5 weeks. And like just like bloop. It was a safety mechanism.
Yeah.
And I freaking out. But I think the difference was I knew I was going to heal. I just didn't know how.
How, like, oh my gosh, first of all, I'm like taking a breath here. I cannot imagine for someone who, focus heavily on their body, their mind, like in order to do a lot of the things that you did, especially with martial arts, like it's very mental, then to have a brain injury, like how did you stay positive during that time? Like, I mean, were you positive? Like, did you have a belief in God? Like during that time, like a prayer practice, like how did you, because I find like you get two different types of people. It's like one that like, it's like very negative throughout the entire experience. It's like, why did this happen to me? And then you get another, the opposite of that, polar opposite.
Well, good question. I decided or I've always had a belief in God. It's always like in the background of my world, everything is happening for me. I've always
Mm,
believed in this
mm,
universal safety net, and um, so I always knew that it was happening. And I decided I was just gonna science the heck out of it. I was going to because I'd studied neuroscience for the kids, but I did not have to study neuroscience like my life depended on it, which it did. Which I love when neuroscience experts are like, yeah, you have to do this and you do this. And I'm like, oh, have you done that then? And it's like, no, I read a book on it, or this is the latest research. I'm like, yeah, try that. Try that. I started recording affirmations and healing messages in my own voice because our brains love the sound of our own voices the best. So I started doing all of these weird things. I started taking pieces from neuroscience, from healing, from nervous system work. I had to start doing self EMDR in the middle of the night when I was having a panic attack, and I would just start tapping the sides of my arms, and I would say, "You're okay. We're okay. We're okay." Um, I think the faith was definitely the part. The other part I was super glad about is I made fun of it. I had so much humor about it. Of course, I put my clothes in the what now I can't think of the word dishwasher. Of course, I put my clothes in the dishwasher. Doesn't everybody wash their clothes in the dishwasher? I mean, I would find random things in random
yeah,
places. I couldn't make up words for things. I couldn't remember the word for gloves, so I called them hand socks.
yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Exactly. I would never let myself get away with just using the word thingy.
Oh my gosh. But I love, okay, I love that you touched on humor too, because I think that's the difference, like you get like the angry, why is this happening to me? Like very pissed off version. And then you get
Yeah.
the one that's like, okay, we're here, this is happening. Like, what can I learn from it? Like, laugh about certain things. And so I love that you touched on the humor component too.
Don't get me wrong. There were hot minutes
No,
of,
of course,
are
that's
you freaking
human. Yeah.
kidding me? Every time I went into the doctor, they're like, oh yeah, now you have low vitamin D. I'm like, what? And I wasn't even making adrenaline. So for adrenaline, you make cortisol. My
Yeah.
cortisol was so screwed up. I was making cortisone, which is what they shoot you with. My fight or flight was on 24/7. I was like one of the little kids, that I taught. And it was just so I did have my moments of like, no, what? Okay, I'll figure out a way to get through this.
Yeah. Those human moments, but that's, I mean, that's human, but you didn't stay there. And that's the difference, like, but I also think it affects your healing too,
Mm.
like dramatically.
Oh my gosh. So I have a TED Talk and were you going to ask about this? Because I can.
No, it's so perfect. No, that's no,
Oh
go
my gosh.
with
Oh
it.
my gosh. Oh, okay. So and I always saw myself. I wasn't creating images, but I saw an image of me on a stage with a microphone talking about the brain injury and laughing. So I knew at some point it was going to be funny and I was going to be fine and I would be using my story to help others. Cut to 2019, I did a TED Talk called The Dangers of Your Inner Bully. The minute we start beating ourselves up, healing stops. Healing stops in that moment. And if we're beating ourselves up, or if I was beating my brain up, the healing was done for
Mhm.
that period of time, because healing happens when we are in parasympathetic, when we are calm, when we are regenerating. It's not happening when you're in fight or flight. You beat yourself up, you put yourself in fight or flight, and you stop your healing. Now, the weird thing about that TED Talk, it was on a TEDx stage, and then TED.com moved it to TED.com. It became an actual TED
Oh my
Talk,
gosh.
and it just
Wow.
hit 750,000 views.
Wow.
And Ariana Huffington wrote an article about it. I wasn't even prepared for any of this. You want to talk about the God thing? And then they showed an article about it, and then Thrive Global voted it one of the top 10 most meaningful TED Talks. I, Damesha, I didn't even know what to do with all that. I was still healing my brain.
Oh my gosh. But talk about pain to purpose. Like, and it's, I love that you talked about the title is so good, the dangers of your inner bully, because again, going back to what we were saying earlier, in the thoughts that people have, we are so toxic to ourselves. We're negative, like we're not kind. Like, I mean, but yet we give everyone else so much grace, And so I'm like, I had to learn, even for myself, I was so hard on myself, being a former athlete, like, very much like, why are you being stupid? Like, get up,
Right.
like,
You
you're
you
not
could
tired, you're
rub some
this.
dirt on it. You can
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, and like, but then I learned like that doesn't really solve anything, and it doesn't make my body want to go harder or go even more. So when I like really started working on my self-talk, like that's when I learned I could do a lot more, and it created this almost like space. I feel like going back to the healing, right? It's like when you're in that negative space, it's like it closes everything.
Yeah.
And so it's like I use a lot of leadership garden, kind of analogies with the garden. And it's like, you think about a garden in order for it to bloom, it's like it needs love, sun, light, calm, energy. So,
Water.
oh my gosh, I love you're amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Well, and I'll give you just the whole basis of the TED Talk, which you're going to be like, yes. So, most of my career, martial arts, I taught people how to work on the external bully, all the toxic relationships in their life, the people in their life, whatever that was. And then it's like, what happens when we deal with that internal bully? You might believe this, and science is going to catch up to me. When we are beating ourselves up, we are producing the exact same chemicals that we produce when we are being bullied by others. And that is why you cannot hate yourself thin. You cannot hate yourself successful. You cannot be mad at yourself. You can't nurture what you don't love. You can't nurture what you don't even like. And yet we have a culture where that's the thing. But our bodies are literally creating chemicals that are not going to make that possible. And yet we still buy into it. So that's really the danger of our inner bully, is what it creates in us too.
Absolutely. And also too, like what you're feeding yourself is what will spill out.
Mm.
The minute you're triggered, the minute, someone like hurts you, harms you, whatever it is, it's like whatever you're fueling yourself up with, which is why the tagline for the show is, weekly fuel for your mind, body, and soul. Because it's like a constant reminder that like you want to fuel yourself with, good things.
Our brains have so much space, and we take in
Yes.
many 11 million bits of information. And if you can consciously use information like everything that's on your podcast, healing words, healing thoughts, positivity, it creates a whole different level of what's possible for your cells, for your mind, for your body, and your soul.
Yes. Yes. So good. Oh my gosh. So good. I want to talk about empower.
Ooh, all right.
So cool. But you have helped. I mean, what, you've worked with like 50,000 clients, which still blows my mind.
A lot.
Like helping people move from, reaction to response, like from sabotage to self-mastery, which
Mm.
is, a lot of my coaching is around self-mastery and like understanding yourself, like all the levels and layers, to step into your light more, right? Like, tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was the aha moment that kind of led you to create this framework?
I was in a documentary that aired on ABC Family several years ago, many years ago. And it was for kids who were struggling with their weight, having weight issues. And I realized we didn't ever weigh them. I realized No, they just need to remember who they are. They need to find that inner power. And I I know. And each of those kids did so well. Like they started to believe in themselves. I'm gonna cry. Love themselves and change the way that they spoke to themselves. And the bullying stopped and they started to become proponents for other kids too that were going through that. But I saw when they accessed that inner power, and it was something I'd always done as a martial artist and as a coach, but I didn't have the words for it. So when I put it into words, I realized it was I'm great at looking at what can cause us harm. And I have training in anything that can cause us harm, our thinking, our food, our mindset, our boundaries, any of that stuff, because that is just what's blocking us from our true power. Because when we're in our power, we are fully on. You're fully in your energy. I'm fully in my energy. I'm doing what I want to do in the world. I am filled with purpose or joy or peace or whatever it is I want. But it's all those things that drain our power. Saying yes to everything, not knowing how to set a boundary, beating ourselves up, letting other people's expectations run our lives, trying to prove, oh my gosh, proving energy, especially for women,
Yeah.
is so big. But all of these little ways that drain our power, my work is to help people understand those, take small steps, like to get their power, to take it back. I do not believe anyone takes our power. I believe we give it away
Way.
because we
Yes.
cannot take it back if it's been taken, but we can take it back because we've given it away. So
Exactly.
my mission is to help people take that power back. And it's that inner power, innate, inherent, intuitive, internal power that lives in all of us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. I love because I think that's the misconception that happens so often is people, you hear them like I'll be coaching someone and they're like, they're taking my power. I'm like, no, you're giving it away. I'm like, no one can take your power. Like you give it freely, not even knowing. Like, and it happens so often. Like it happens driving in a car in Starbucks. Maybe someone ruined your coffee, like I don't have it on today, but I have a hat that says be a good human. And I tend to wear it like early mornings,
My
like in
kind of shirt
Starbucks.
would really like your hat.
I'm like, it's like a reminder to people because I'm like, they give their power away in so many instances, like things that really shouldn't get to you, but you let it get to you and then you leak your power. It's like this constant leak of power. So you're absolutely right. Like, and I love the name In Power because it's such a beautiful reminder that we hold that power, and
Well,
like we hold it. No one else does. And we
it's
can
ours.
grab it it's up for grabs.
And I looked up the word when I was kind of going through all of this stuff. I was like, empower is where someone gives you power.
Yes.
I don't want someone giving me power, then they can take it away. It's not that we empower others or we are empowered. To me, it's like we are empowered.
Yeah.
And I thank you for getting that. Thank you for understanding all of that.
No, it's so good. I mean, I talk about it so often, and I love that you mentioned that too, because when I first started my coaching program, I was using Empower,
Most of us do.
and just it's like natural because it's like I want to empower you. I want to, give you the tools, and it's like you don't empower people. Like they have to do the work anyway, So it's like you can partner with them, Like you can ride in their car with them, be a passenger,
Yes. I
but
love that.
they're
That reminds me
driving.
yes.
Yeah.
Who's driving? That reminds me of the whole empathy thing. As a coach,
Yeah.
oftentimes empathy can be like you jump in the pit with somebody.
Yeah.
Compassion is like, I've been there. Here's a hand.
Yep.
Let me help you get up.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. I
yeah.
always say I can't climb in the foxhole with you because then
Mm-mm.
we're both down there and there's nobody up above to pull us up.
Who's
So
gonna, who's in charge?
exactly. Oh my goodness. Oh, so good. It's like I love your reframe too. You talk about this and I want to touch on this a little bit, but your reframe from best self to favorite self. That is
Okay.
that is so good. Like, what does that mean for you personally? And what would you say to someone who's kind of chasing that version of themselves, like their best self?
Okay, I love that you brought it up, and I totally want to know what you think of this too.
Okay.
So, best is like there's a judgment to it. Am I being my, no, I'm not being my best self. I could be a better self. Like there is a good, right, wrong, good, bad to best self. Am I living my best life? I love the quote, is she living her best life? Like that's just hilarious to me. But if I start saying, am I living my best life? The answer is probably going to be no, because I can always live more. I can always do more. I'm exhausted just trying to get my best out. But favorite, it's like, this is the part of me I like. This is my favorite version. This is my favorite way of being. This conversation is my favorite way of being in a conversation with a human being. That is a whole different ball game than best, which is like, no, I guess I have a little bit more room for improvement. It's not quite my best. How does that land for
Oh
you?
my gosh. Okay. I was so excited to ask you this because I love, and you're so right. It's like your best self is so judgy, and it's like, oh, you're not quite your best self. It's like this judgment. And I think there needs to be so much more grace, and love, going back again to fear and love. It's like, to me, your best self is very fear-based, because it's like if you're not at this whatever level, like then you're not your best, but your favorite self is more loving, and also it leaves room for, like you to change your mind. Because your favorite, in your 20s might look different in your 30s and might look different in your 40s and 50s and so on. And so, like, I love that component. I actually don't use that term either, best self. Like I use like full self, you know,
Full self. I like
yeah,
that.
like how can I fool, like be more full? Because like, I don't know about you, but certain days I can eat a little bit more than others, so it's like my full self is different on certain days, so I think it gives a lot more grace. And I think that's what we need more of.
I was in Beverly Hills a couple weekends ago at a magazine launch for Ageless Living, and I'm not a Beverly Hillsian. And I'm like trying to get my outfit. I'm like trying to plan the things, and I'm like, I am not cool. When I try so hard to be cool, I cannot pull it off. So I had to kind of come to Jesus meeting in my head, and it was like, you know
Good.
what? You're just going to be you.
Yes.
You just go and fly that flag that you fly, and you be you. I'm at this event, 4,000 women at a white party, and I'm just like dancing when the DJ is playing. I'm asking people questions. I'm focused with them. I got to be my favorite self because I wasn't trying to be someone else. And I can't tell you how many people said, "You're not from here, are you?" Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm from Colorado. All this is interesting, but I can't help, it's not the same. And I got to have moments of connection beyond because I was belonged to myself in that moment, got to be me. And oh, it was such a beautiful, beautiful epiphany for me.
I can imagine. And I think that's the difference, right? It's like when we are trying to be someone other than who we're supposed to be, like we don't even enjoy it. Like you're not your favorite self in that moment because you're trying too hard. But when
You're
you're
trying to be
showing
someone
up,
else's version of your
yeah,
best self.
exactly. And it's like when you're showing up just as you and you're like, hey, this is who I am, not only are you enjoying yourself more, but you're also a lot more free for people to see you, and then it's like you're attracting the right energy because you're exactly who you are. Whereas when you're trying to be someone else, it's like you're attracting that energy. And then you're like, this doesn't even feel aligned. So, oh my gosh, I love that you touched on that because I see it so often, and we're all guilty of it. In moments, it's like, oh, like, how do I fit in? Or what do and I think a gift that I gave myself early on, probably, I want to even say like in high school, is I realized that God made me and that, regardless of however I showed up, like I was going to just be me, and that the same God who made the stars, the moons, the oceans and everything also thought to the world that we needed a Damesha. And so I've always shown up as myself, and I never fit in. And I think that's one of my superpowers, and I think some people get it and some people are very judgy towards it. And I'm like, either way, those just aren't my people. And I've never felt a loss because of it. And I think like that's the difference when people are trying to fit in, like it's like this ripple effect of, negative shit that happens after, it's like they're like, I'm not fitting in, I don't feel good, I don't, and I just have not felt like that.
That needs to be a podcast. That's brilliant. Because think about it. If you don't belong to yourself, if you're
Yeah.
not belonging in yourself and really being yourself, you're not going to fit in, or you're
No,
always going to feel like an imposter. Or, and that's why when
that's
imposter
the
syndrome came up,
words.
I was
Yes,
like, who are you trying to pretend to be? Like,
exactly.
what I, and for women leaders a lot in, or women in male dominated industries, we do have this version of ourselves that we think we're supposed to be. And if there's no freedom for you in that, it's probably not a good fit. I love that you had that realization in high school
Oh
because God
yeah.
doesn't make mistakes. The
Well,
world
and
did need Damesha.
no, but honestly, it's because like, people saw me as so different. Like, and they pointed it out, but I thought like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm okay being different, like I'm okay that I'm wearing a hot pink leather skirt to school,
Yes, I would have so been your friend. I wanted to wear red cowboy boots every day because I thought that would be fun.
but like people made fun of me, because they were like, you're overdressed, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, I don't care, like I'm
Or
gonna show up like how I want to show up. Like you're not gonna change that, like so.
so much
But
freedom in that.
I had to learn that, because it's like earlier years, it was like a lot of people pleasing for the people I loved. And I still needed to learn that in relationships, like my intimate relationships. I did not have that same kind of power. I gave it away. And
Mhm.
so it's a learning, like there was always parts. I always say there's parts of you that shows up confident in a lot of areas, and then maybe some that you're not quite there yet. That's okay too. There's we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to evolve. So
The same with boundaries. Seen people who
yes.
are really good at boundaries in certain areas, but then you put them in that different, like high attachment area, or not good, not so good. But that's what makes us human. There's
Yes.
opportunities to grow. Bruce Lee always said, it's the principle of entropy. Like you're one step closer to becoming your favorite self or death. And so growing is continuing.
Exactly. And we're going to be on this journey. And I think this is another, lesson I've learned is like, you don't ever arrive. Like, I think like we're always in this like destination or like, reward, thinking like, and it's like, you don't ever arrive on this journey, that your healing journey is forever. Like you're going to be learning forever. Even if you choose to stay stagnant, you're still
Mhm.
learning. You're learning to stay stagnant, like so.
It's not like
Yeah.
there's a place to be. I always laugh when people are like, happiness is it's a place to get to. No, I mean, I'm lucky I create peace in each
Yes.
moment or peace in a
Oh,
day. And
God.
oh my gosh. So they did this study on happiness and they found that the people who said they were happiest experienced more positive emotions in the last 48 hours.
Exactly.
They didn't even realize that, but that's all we need are more positive emotions, more positive input. And, I love that. It's healing is a journey. Life is a journey.
Life is a journey, facts. Every aspect of it. So I'm so curious because you know, take care of so many others. And how do you take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul? Like how do you fuel yourself up to continue to do what you do?
I have a whole operating manual, which I always give to clients too, and you might as well. And I mean, it's like I wake up when I wake up, and I stretch, I meditate first thing in the morning. I have lemon water with apple cider vinegar. Then I have my first coffee with MCT oil. I do intermittent fasting. I stretch and do a rebounder while I'm drinking my coffee, usually not at the same time, but
Okay.
it helps me set my mind. I listen to positive input in first thing because that's what I want to soak into my brain. I want to start my day with a different aspect. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat sugar. Both because they wreck my system and because I feel awful. I feel like crap if I eat them. What else do I do? Oh, I have a bedtime ritual. Like about 9 o'clock, screens go off and I read my book. I just bought a red light. You've seen red lights. I
Oh
just
my
bought a,
gosh, I just bought one too. It's coming. It's supposed to be
oh
here
my
like
gosh, I
I'm
just
so
got mine two
excited.
days
I'm
ago.
gonna send you a picture.
Okay. Yeah, well, and it's Prime Day. Anyway, so I
That's
got
why
it.
I got it because it's so hilarious.
I'm putting in red light. Make sure you get different glasses, but
Yes.
I'm putting in red light And in therapy, in at the end of the night or the middle of like whenever I can, I work out a lot. But workouts for me partly are teaching, and then I like to lift weights because I like the feeling. I struggle if I haven't moved my body enough or haven't lifted something heavy. There's an not an aggression, but just like I don't feel like me. So even if I've had a really busy day, I might just go do some deadlifts because then I can relax my body. I just have to tighten those muscles at some point during the day. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now, do you go to a gym?
I don't. I owned a gym, the martial arts and fitness studio, so I have all of the equipment. And yes, sometimes I go to the studio. Sometimes I'll work out at home with kettlebells or weights. I just started lifting heavy, I don't know, about a year ago. Um, love that.
It's so interesting. When I ran track, I used to lift very heavy. Like, I
Did
mean,
you?
extremely. Yeah. My dad, I tell people all the time, you train me like a man, because I was squatting like 425 pounds, just to give you an idea of what I mean by heavy. And like doing it like 10 reps, so I could probably go a lot more, but I got away from it, but I love like kettlebells, and I love like body weight stuff.
Mhm.
So I've been like getting back into like just finding like what gives me energy. And so I'm like trying different things. I'm like, I don't want to, I'm a person that likes variety. I realize that about myself, like not in everything, because I'm extremely routine in a lot of ways, but then I like variety when it comes to movement, and so but I might get back into the heavy lifting because I'm like, I'm starting to miss certain things, and also to my tone, I'm like, I want to keep that,
Oh
keep
my,
that.
and there is such a feeling when you can lift
Yeah.
like big dumbbells over your head and you're like, I just did that. Even if I did 4 reps,
Yeah.
I did that.
Exactly.
For me, I mean, I've always done push-ups. That's not
Yeah.
a from I love body weight stuff too. I started working out with Marion Jones also. Um,
What?
uh-huh. She does something called
Oh my
Comeback
goodness.
Club. So on Monday mornings, I work out with
She
Marion
is
Jones.
phenomenal. Like, I'm like, I don't care about all the stuff.
Any
Okay.
other stuff?
Like, well, here's the thing. I'm like, even if we all took what she took, we still wouldn't beat her. Like she is phenomenal. Like I used to just watch her in awe. Like I never raced against her, which was like one thing I like wish I did. Even if I lost them, like I still just wanted to
Sure,
say
but
I
it would have
raced
been a
Mary
huge
Jones,
thing to say I raced against Marion Jones.
Exactly. But I used to watch her warming up at events. Her warm up alone will have your mouth open. I mean, she's just it's like this energetic, ball of like but so focused in a way. It's like you can't even describe it. I'm like lost for words here. But it was so I used to love watching her. So, shout out to Marion Jones if you're listening. Love to have you on.
I will send her the
Oh
podcast.
my gosh, please. It would be my absolute honor to have her on. I used to watch her. I mean, she was the bar, you know?
She is. She's the goat.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah. Facts.
amazing. And
Don't
and her
care. I'm like, I don't care about all the stuff. Like, I'm like, she is still the goat in my eyes.
mentally, the her
Yes.
mindset, the way that, yeah,
Yes.
she's amazing. I
But
have
also her kindness and her poise and her discipline and
she's
just
pure class.
all the
She is pure
yes,
class.
facts. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll talk offline about
Okay.
that. Well, tell us what's next for you. And also, are you taking new clients? Like, can people work with you? Do you take virtual clients?
I do. I do
Okay,
take virtual
amazing.
clients on Zoom. I have group coaching or one-on-one coaching.
Okay,
I'm building out a platform. I want to be able to offer in-power options for anyone, no matter what their financial level is. So let's say you're like, yes, I need more in-power, but I'm struggling financially. I will have free resources. Here's some things you can download. Here's some guidebooks. Here's some stuff. Then if you've got a little bit of money and you want to get more specialized, here's some group programs. Here's some options. Here's some books. I do have a book also. It's called In Power: Finding Your Voice. I'm not the first one to
is this
say
on
find your voice.
Amazon? Where is
It
it?
is.
Okay, amazing.
And then the platform will also have swag. I love this
Nice.
t-shirt. I can't take it, but someone
Oh
else
my
made it.
gosh, I love your t-shirt. I'm like, I want one. So wherever I can
Okay.
grab it, let me know. Send me the link.
Noted. Noted. Breathe in Detroit makes these t-shirts.
Shout out.
Shout out to Breathe in Detroit. And then I want to be able to offer. So anywhere, like you are still, you anyone who's struggling and knows that they need to unleash their inner power, I want to be able to help them
Yeah.
either privately, one-on-one, retreats, whatever, down to here's some stuff that you can
Mhm.
download. And that's kind of always been my thing is I just want to be there because I could have died in the accident. And I want to leave the world better because I was in it, better with the knowledge and the information that I've got to help people who are ready for it.
Gosh. Oh gosh, it's so good. And I thank you so much for sharing that because you're inspiring me. Like I'm building out my platform right now too and trying to figure out like, different price points just to be able to serve. Like I tell people like I've lived an incredible life so far, with a wealth of experiences that, you know, and also just gained a ton of knowledge during that time that I just want to be able to share and, serve someone else. And so that's what I'm working on too. And it's a lot of work. So I kudos to you because it's not, for anyone who hasn't done this, it's a lot, to be able to take your course or your coaching and then put it into a course or put it in, to a book. Like, so
I
shout
have
out.
7 books. I think I have
Oh
six
my
courses.
gosh.
Yeah, I have so much
Oh
stuff.
my gosh. Amazing.
I
Amazing.
want to leave the
Well,
world better. I
yeah,
want to leave my little space in the world better.
you already have. If you do nothing else, you already have. Just know that, okay?
Okay, that's weird because that's what I got in my near-death experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, for blessing Sunday Soul Day, blessing me. Like I'm telling you, I'm like, this is free coaching for me. I'm telling you guys, every person that comes on, I feel like I learned something. I'm able to take it and then not only take in the knowledge, but then apply it. So I am so grateful to you.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. And everyone, as always, have an amazing Sunday. And do us a favor, leave us your favorite part about this beautiful conversation with Teresa in the comments below. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and drop us a comment, send us some love. And if you're interested in being on the show, reach out to me.